Yeah, £160 million for Elliot Anderson. Insane, stupid, dumb. Transfer market's getting out of hand. Absolutely out of hand. No more. No more can we see something like this. Manchester City have broken their club record fee by spending this amount. So they've broken the record of Calvin Phillips and then Jack Grealish, and now it's Elliot Anderson. I don't know what it is with Manchester City spending extreme taxes on English players. They have a fetish. I want to know what crack pipe they're smoking. I actually don't want to know what crack pipe they're smoking because I'm not trying to see it. Not trying to see it. Yeah. So you have that. You have Sandro Tonali, who Tottenham bid £75 million. That was rejected. You have Mateus Fernandes, who West Ham have valued him at £80 million. You have Bruno G, who Arsenal was sniffing around and tried to be cheeky and say, do you know what? Could we perhaps maybe bid £60 million? Would that be would that be okay with you? No, like, come on. Again, cheeky. We're going back to the Arsene Wenger days where he was bidding 40 million and £1 for Luis Suarez. I don't know what they're doing over there. But like I said, transfer market is absolutely insane. Honestly, I'm reading some of the ins and outs, the potential ins and outs, and there's the Palestra deal for 55 million euros, insane. I've already shared my comments on that and spoken about the player in full. I don't think he is in any way, shape or form should be 55 million euros. I think at best maybe 40 million euros, no more than that. But look, people are saying it's inflation. Yeah, inflation exists. Inflation's a thing, but not to this extent. FIFA have reported in 2025 male or professional men's transfers reached $13 billion. Again, what are we doing? That's insane. Insane. Inflation doesn't explain why a £50 million player is now worth £100 million all of a sudden in a couple of years. Fine, 50 to 60 to about 65, cool, regular, normal, that's fine. But football isn't pricing ability anymore. It's not pricing the ability of a player. It's pricing leverage. It's pricing a club putting another club in a stronghold and saying, you seem desperate, let's get every penny out of you. Elliot Anderson is a perfect example, right? He transferred from Nottingham Forest, 2023, for around 35 to 38 million pounds. But he's Premier League proven. He's an international starter, right? He's an England international. We can see him starting in the World Cup. He started the 2 games against Croatia and Ghana. Cool. There's some concrete evidence to back and to give some substance to the valuation by Nottingham Forest, but not 160 million pounds. Absolutely not. Has the world gone mad? No, not at all. Not at all. Market leverage is ridiculous. Sandro Tonali. That one I can argue a bit more for. I could argue a bit more for Sandro Tonali. I could. Do you know why I can argue a bit more for him? Because he's playing in Champions League. He's played for a few years in the Premier League. He's a talisman for Newcastle. You can see his ability as a 6, as an 8. You've seen it, right? Everybody has seen how high quality Tonali is. So I think there's some justification there. Elliot Anderson hasn't played in the Champions League. He's barely touched Europa League. Barely. So I can see that, right? He's a serious player. But Spurs are inconveniencing Newcastle. So there's a bit of a premium there. He's valued on transfer market at 80 million euros. We're around that ballpark figure. I don't think we're doing anything mad. Like I said, he's young. He's 26 years old. Elliot Anderson's 23 years old. It's not that much of an age gap. Then you have Mateus Fernandes. I hate talking about Mateus Fernandes. I really do. Mateus Fernandes, who West Ham were relegated, have said, oh yeah, bro, we see this guy at about £80 million. Again, they're probably sharing the same crack pipe as Manchester City. Maybe. Definitely, actually. They're definitely sharing the same crack pipe. How do you, as a club who's been relegated, probably desperate for more funds, go, yeah, it's £80 million? Because it's not, is it the age? Is it the nationality? Is it a long contract? Yes. Are the answers to yes? No. Then even then, still, it's not. And I hope nobody meets that valuation. I hope somebody takes a stand, and that somebody is Tottenham, and they go, We're not paying that. We're not paying, let's say, £90 million for Sandro Tonali, and then you know what? We're also going to pay £80 million for Mateus Fernandes. Those two are on completely different levels. They don't play the same sport. Mateus Fernandes is nice. He's 21 years old. He's young. He's Portuguese, whatever, fine. But those two do not play the same sport. Don't compare Sandro Tonali to him. And lastly is Bruno G. Bruno G is a club captain. He's also a talisman at Newcastle. He's loved by the fans. But it's more of an inconvenience for Newcastle. Look at Newcastle's form when he doesn't play for them. It drops off greatly. Bruno G is such an influential figure for Newcastle. And also the players around him. So you're telling me Tottenham's going to come in, potentially take Sandro Tonali. I think that deal's going to happen. And then Arsenal's going to come along and go, hey, by the way, could we just bid £60 million? No. Newcastle's going to look at that and say, we've got 3 examples in Elliot Anderson, Mateus Fernandes, and Sandro Tonali to know that our player's worth way more than £60 million. Way more than £60 million. I wish Chelsea, I wish we as a club were going for him. It's not the case. Unfortunately, it's not the case. And that brings me on to Enzo Fernandez, right? Enzo Fernandez, I spoke about him in the video for the Enzo problem or the Enzo dilemma. How he splits us as a fan base, his effect on the game, his effect on the club, his ability to contribute. But looking from a numbers standpoint, his ability to contribute shouldn't be questioned. He was the highest GA midfielder in the top 5 leagues in 2025. He's a World Cup winner. He's a Club World Cup winner. He is a national starter, 25 years old. Does have short and long range passing capabilities. Decent ball carrying. I don't think he's the complete midfielder, not like Elliot Anderson, but he's got way more in the bank than Elliot Anderson. He's played in the Champions League. So us as a club, Chelsea as a club, should be looking at Real Madrid and saying, we're not accepting any less than £120 million. No less than £120 million. And if Real Madrid are serious, I think we should be asking for more, if anything. But look, I know that there's 5 reasons this is happening. Premier League money. The Premier League is being pumped full of money. Advertising, partnerships, sponsorship deals, even fan ticket pricing, which I'm going to touch on later, increasing as well, right? So all of those streams of revenue gives money to clubs to spend more. PSR creating pressure on clubs like Newcastle and Aston Villa, who in their own right have been successful in recent years. Villa's won the Europa League. Should they not be allowed to spend? No, PSR dictates that they can't. So they have to sell players for extortionate amounts to try to generate revenue to reinvest into the squad. I don't blame them for doing that. Forest is a different story because they have an owner that is a dictator and somebody who's really hard to bargain with. Look at Gibbs White trying to join Tottenham. That picture of him next to Gibbs White, you could tell he definitely didn't want to be there. He was held at gunpoint, I reckon, allegedly. Well, not allegedly. I'm theorizing. Long contracts. We are culprits of that. Long contracts, having a contract for a player till 2030, 2031, 2032. Again, adding value to the transfer market. And then you have data. Everybody has switched from the eye test to data values and data points, and data's now got everybody chasing the same profiles, the same type of player. Again, demand increases price. Simple economics. Everybody chasing the same player now means that you can have a bidding war for any individual that's looking to make a move. Again, an example would be Elliot Anderson, who we saw have his audition against City, equalised, have his audition against Forest, got an assist. Against Forest, against United, got an assist. And then last is it's always that one crazy fee that resets the market. Every time we think it's cooling down, there'll be a record fee that will reset it and use it and be used as a benchmark by clubs, right? You have Moises Caicedo's fee, Enzo Fernandez's fee, Elliot Anderson, Calvin Phillips, Grealish, Ekitike, Wirtz, Isak. Even Vista, I'm going to throw Vista in there. Do you know why I'm going to throw Vista in there? Because Vista's not worth 60 million pounds. Was it 60, 70 million pounds? Whatever it is. He's not worth that. Are you mad? He's not worth that. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Those are 5 issues, 5 major contributing factors to why the transfer market's gotten out of hand. And I've been reading around, on the interwebs about some potential solutions. People have made mentions to value band. So having a player fall within a certain transfer band between like 60 to 80 million pounds based on their age, nationality, league they play on, contract length, etc., etc. Then you have that working in tandem for another solution, which is to tax the premium. So if a club says, okay, we see he's worth within that range, that value band, we're going to pay extra, but then the premium should be taxed. That premium should be taxed. There's always a theory of the trickle-down effect for the Premier League, that the Premier League is making way more money and then it's trickling down into the lower leagues, and that money is, going into the likes of the Championship, League 1, 2, even Sunday League football. It's not the case. It's not happening in real life. So to put a tax on this premium makes that guarantee that tax or that excess should be given to academies or to grassroots football or to us as fans. That's what I meant by I'm going to touch on ticket prices being increased. Why can the excess, which is taxed, not be used to subsidize our tickets? Why are we paying more and more and more every year? You saw the protest by Liverpool fans from having their ticket prices increased. It never went through, but you can see the upset. Everybody would be upset. We're paying extortionate prices for Chelsea versus Burnley. Do you know what I mean? And the last, and I think is probably the most practical thing, is having add-ons. Like let's get some. Everyone, you can see add-ons are being used more and more and more and more, to the upset and dislike of sporting directors and owners. Obviously, they would love to have money guaranteed on the table, an upfront payment, no add-ons. But the fact of the matter is, clubs should be saying, I am not paying superstar money for somebody who could potentially be a superstar. I will pay a fraction of that price with guaranteed add-ons, and he ticks it off like a checklist. Made team of the season, here's another 10 million. Player of the season, 10 million. Won the Premier League, 10 million. Appearances, 10 million. If a club wants to price a player like a future superstar, the fee should only become superstar money if they actually become that. No more. I just think that's something we should enforce. I think that's something we should look at. It will get out of hand. There won't be a fix. But at some point, the same way clubs like to take a stand against any other club that, steps out of line, when the Premier League clubs come and band together and they vote for a decision to be made or for the FA to make a decision, I don't see why this can't be the case. But it's the big clubs who aren't complaining, because the big clubs can afford to do that, and the big clubs hold most of the power. They hold most of the advertising power. Most of the talking points for the Premier League is always about the big six. Sometimes it's about the likes of Aston Villa or Sunderland making a decent charge into a European spot, etc. And unfortunately, there needs to be a solution in play, a solution used where smaller clubs are given a bigger degree of power. Like I said, football transfers are broken, absolutely broken. And until we fix that, every summer is just going to be a competition who panics first. Every single summer, who's going to panic first? Football transfers stopped being about value a long time ago. A long time ago. It's all about leverage. Nothing more.